Welcome to our presentation on the Miya Restaurant UX Service App. My name is Jordan Winch, and I'll be starting off this wonderful presentation. So as you know, my name is Jordan.
I'm Abby Trask.
So as you may be wondering, what is Miya Japanese Bistro? Miya Japanese Bistro is a local Japanese restaurant based in downtown Winona. The business is a family-owned restaurant run by a wife, husband, and mother-in-law.
Alright, so starting off with the contents, we'll first show you the design thinking, then I'll highlight the data analysis and wireframing. After that, Jordan will cover the UI design, and lastly, E will highlight the app development. So starting off with the design thinking. We'll go through a step-by-step process of how we developed our design thinking process and how we developed the UX Service App from our design thinking. So the first step was a discussion with Miya. This discussion started at the Miya restaurant with the restaurant owners, and we learned about their current service operation. And during this meeting, we discovered a lot of root problems that they were facing with their current service operation and what they would like to improve and any limitations we would have for designing this app. The next step was a field study with Miya. We observed what it's like to dine at the restaurant and have a better understanding of the customer's current experiences and perspectives during our field study. The study allowed us to collect data from observations, customer reviews, and conversations with the restaurant owners. This data was beneficial for us while deciding what problems to solve and how to highlight the better forms of service that they already showcase.
Once we sat down with the owner of the restaurant and the data that we collected during our field study, we sat down as a group and started the design thinking process. During this process, we incorporated each of our individual concentrations and experience. So in this situation, 2 design majors and 1 computer science major. We then discussed the best route for user experience for the service app.
After the discussion with the teammates, we started to develop the master pseudocode. This master pseudocode describes each step the user has to navigate through the service app. And after developing the pseudocode, we started to implement the service app. So Abby with the wireframing and UI, and then Jordan started with the UI UX part, and I started the programming part.
Next, I'll highlight the data analysis and wireframing part of the Restaurant UX Service App. I started working on this project to learn how to develop a user-centered service app that would increase the Miya restaurant's productivity. As an iDesign major with a concentration in technology and interactivity, I have learned a variety of subject areas such as data science, design, and computer science. From my knowledge about these subject areas, I was able to develop a better understanding of how to work with my teammates on this project. In addition, these skills help contribute to the Restaurant UX Service App by developing a user-centered data analysis and wireframing to help increase the quality of customers' experiences. The wireframes and interactions of the app were created in Figma, and this software helped improve our workflow as it's a collaborative workspace that allows easy transitions from UX, UI, and development. While developing the UX Service App, we collected a lot of data by observing the service while dining at the restaurant, verbal data from the restaurant owners, and customer reviews. We spent significant time analyzing this data and discovering the root problems and the limitations that cause the inefficiency. For example, the app needs to incorporate the existing billing system, online ordering app, and extensive menu selection. The problems we discovered from this data and different perspectives from my group allowed me to have a better understanding of how to develop the wireframing. While I highlighted the root problems, I also enhanced the good forms of service that the restaurant currently has. Another main focus of the UX Service app is to bridge the gap between traditional service and a digital application. One problem we discovered is a long wait time to receive service caused by the imbalance of personal relationships and customer service. The Service app will help solve this problem by allowing an unlimited amount of customers to order at one time. And this is an essential problem that we want to focus on and reduce the time of ordering to increase the efficiency of the few workers. This is just one way we increase the customer's user experience. Next, I'll tell you about some challenges we faced. The first challenge that we faced was the user login. While this is a common feature in most service apps, we also wanted to ensure that we were reducing the customer anxiety that is developed while being pressured to develop a login. While working closely with Jordan, we developed a login that highlighted the hierarchy of information that allowed customers to log in as a guest before developing a member login. Requesting service like water is another challenge that we discovered due to the few workers. This problem was solved by adding a service button after the customers placed their order. And this leads me to my next challenge that we found, being a human error with the ordering and cooking. This is a problem that we solved by allowing customers to order their food by selecting who the order is for before adding the item to the cart. When they're ready to place their order, they can view the items in their cart and make edits to it before placing the order. This is just one way we verify the order is correct, but we also assign the first person who signs into that table to be the master orderer. After all orders are placed, they can also be verified and placed again by the master before sending a notification to the waitress. Once the notification is sent to the waitress will come to their table and observe the order that they have placed and verify that it is correct before sending it to be cooked. The waitress's notification also allow her to have a greater understanding of who to help first and to be more efficient while helping customers. In conclusion, these problems have been solved through the UX design process of research, empathizing, creation, testing, and development.
So next up, I will highlight the UI design part of the Restaurant UX Service app. I am currently an iDesign student with a concentration in business and marketing. Before coming into this project, I only knew Abby through design courses and E through a mutual acquaintance of Abby. So you could say that working on a UX restaurant service app is way out of my comfort zone. Still, I started working on this project to learn more about the interaction between the cross-disciplinary service project with a fellow design classmate and a computer science student for the very first time. My part in designing the service app is the app's look, feel, and interactivity, allowing the app to be intuitive as possible and carefully considering the visual and interactive elements the users may encounter. My background in design skills transfers to the app by maintaining the visual design and balancing it with the interactive portion of the app. As Abby mentioned before, we collected live data by observing the Japanese restaurant to analyze the root problems that have caused several inefficiencies in the restaurant. I will quickly run through the 4 main challenges that we have found. These challenges are name-to-name relationships, dietary restrictions, time-consuming questions, and a very complex ordering system. Alright, so moving into our first challenge, retaining customer relationships. Miya is a family-owned business run by a wife, husband, and mother-in-law. They pride themselves on amazing customer service and high-quality food that can take time to come out, all the while still maintaining the name-to-name relationships. Working closely with Abby, we kept this in mind. While designing the UX, Abby and I wanted to allow the customers to sign in with their names, and this will enable the restaurant owner to view the name on each of the orders that she receives. Another challenge that we faced was dietary restrictions. Dining out is a social experience, and selecting a restaurant can be tricky at times. It's even more limiting when one or more people have a dietary restriction. By addressing these dietary restrictions, we allow the users to filter out these dietary restrictions at their leisure. This leads us into the next challenge that we face, and that's the many questions the customers may have about the ingredients. The solution we had come up with is illustrating infographics for each item on the menu. This way, the user will know which ingredients are on what plate. This will also reduce the number of questions that the customer may have to ask the server and allow efficiency in ordering. The solution also minimizes the user's time when checking out the menu. The user or users can filter out their exact dietary restrictions without going through the entire menu. The challenges that have been stated previously helped us greatly with our complex ordering system. As the three of us developed this project, we needed to think about the UX service project's processes and stages, all the while stripping away the parts that aren't essential to the design to create the most effective design solution. As a team, the three of us constantly worked together to simplify the ordering system. We removed some aspects due to the client's needs, usability, and other limitations. The usage of filtering comes into play when the customers are selecting the menu items. The first way to add an item is to click the person icon, decide who the item is for, and then click the Add button to add one item. Another way to add an item to the cart and to view more information is by clicking the I button. The screen you are brought to allows the viewer to see what ingredients are in that specific item and write out any special requests. Once done, the user should select the plus to add the number of items desired, then the people icon, and lastly, the Add button. Using this technique, the user should never be confused about who they are ordering for and if they selected all the items to their cart. While creating this app, we used the design theory techniques to filter and justify. Filtering is one step of the design process to remove unnecessary features, and justification is the process of actively filtering and rationalizing the elements of a design. Throughout this process, part of my duty is to constantly work with both Abby on the wireframing and E to ensure that wireframing elements are being filtered and justified so that the users are using this app seamlessly with no problems. Both filtering and justification are crucial in creating the service app because it allows us as designers to consider the vital outcomes. In conclusion, I am pleased to work on this cross-disciplinary project with Abby and E. This project has allowed us to gain a broader range of our specific expertise and new knowledge that may be out of our comfort zone.
And I would like to talk about application development. So before I move on to the details of application development, I would like to briefly introduce my background. I am a computer science student and I'm also studying data science as a minor. So before this project, I had very limited web programming skills, and this is actually my first time doing a full stack programming class with people from different backgrounds. So I had quite a lot of challenges during this project, which I will be talking about in the next few slides. So among the challenges that I had while implementing this project, the first one, the one that stood out to me the most, is trying to implement the multiple users interface. So thinking from a normal perspective, like trying to implement a single user, trying to implement a multiple users interface should not be that different. It's just adding one or more users. However, from a programming perspective, it's not that easy. And I'm going to compare the two pseudocodes so that we can see how these two are different. So from a normal perspective, we can just say that master guest is chosen. Master guest will check the final order, server will come and approve, and once approved, they will wait for order, and once order arrives, enjoy and then check out. So it's very simple to understand. However, in a programming perspective, at each step of the pseudocode, we have to do more considerations, which are, so first of all, when the master is chosen. So how do we choose a master user?
Do we use the time of login? Do we choose a name like in an alphabetical order, or do we use other variables? And then when the master user is chosen, we have to make sure that other users in the same table are synced together so that the master user can see the information from other users, like the orders, so that they can approve it. So, but the problem here is, how do we retrieve orders from different phones, because other users are accessing this website from different phones? So how do we make sure that they are under the same session? Do we use the database? And how do we distinguish the confirmed orders, like the submitted orders, and the orders in the cart that has not been submitted yet? And also, if there is one, after they ordered everything, after the master user is chosen and the new user come in, because sometimes customers show up late, in that case, and then the person turns out to be having like earlier, having alphabetical order of like the early alphabet, then in that case, how do we make sure that master user is confirmed and like there's no changes to that? And then everything is done and they're going to check out soon. So how do we make sure that all customers have logged out? What if they forgot to log out and then their website is still running? And then if they forgot to log out, the next customer sitting at that same table will check into the same table and the errors could happen. So there are many considerations and problems that could happen due to while programming the features. So the main challenges that I first faced was to ensure the error checking and to think from a user perspective and to do quality assurance at every single stage. And then the next part that I try to focus on is the database construction, because in the database construction, the servers and their owners will have the ability to modify, delete, and add menus, and then they can also and then this will also be the central data storage. So at this stage, what I tried to do was I tried to quantify the service factors in the features. Like, is there any way that I can try to use this information as data and record it in the database, which I will talk about it later. There's at every stage of the service app. And then I tried to see, using that information, I tried to develop the business analytics and collaborated with Abby and Jordan to create the user-friendly data visualizations so that the business can see how their business is doing in terms of the data that we have collected. Not only that, using the data that we have collected, we can reduce unnecessary use of memory. For example, these are the tables that I have created in the database. Using the timestamp of people checking in and checking out, what we can do is, using that information, the Miya owners can see what the capacity of their customers is. It's like how long customers spend at Miya and like how many capacity they can handle at one night with how many servers. Like that kind of information can be based on this data. And also, using the food preparation time, which does not exist before, we thought that, maybe we can actually quantify this preparation time and use it to estimate the cooking time for the customer, so that they can stay informed, like they know when the food is coming out. So, that's one feature that I try to implement. So, using such information, what we can do is, what helpful is that the servers have to use less efforts to memorize things, to remember things. They just need to look at the table. They don't need to look to remember that which table has received the orders, which table has been waiting for how long. So they don't need to remember those stuff. We just rely on the service app and then try to quantify the information at each service app to record, like if we count down the time that the customers have to wait since they submitted their order, and if we count down the time, we get the information of how long they've been waiting. So using that information, the servers can easily check the website and see how long, and then see how long they've been waiting. They don't need to memorize it anymore or remember it anymore. So it actually saves them a lot of time, and then so that in this time span they can focus on the service. So in terms of the experience that I got from this project, I got to learn how to openly discuss without hierarchy in an interdisciplinary setting. And then I also learned, like, the most important takeaway from this project is how to think like a user. And then it's easy to implement the application, but trying to implement an application that is user-oriented is much different and much trickier, and that's more difficult. So that's one lesson that I learned. And the last one is to problem solving together. It's like, because we're from different backgrounds, we have to think about the middle ground that can solve the problem or try to implement a feature that actually matches or accommodates all the backgrounds: design thinking, and the computer science.
This project started by my professor Chunluk Ma observing a service issue at the Miya restaurant and gathering people to help solve this issue. I worked with E during a web programming class for my interdisciplinary skills and Jordan during a design class. After working with them, I knew their different perspectives on problem solving would help excel this project. The cross-disciplinary skills and collaboration during this project highlighted the importance of working together while utilizing design thinking. This was proven by the article published by PBS in 2018 about how colleges are preparing students for jobs that don't exist. We want to ensure that our skills are being utilized to the best of our ability in an interdisciplinary setting. Thank you for listening.